how much credit does he have in the bank when it comes to keeping his job? Got them their first ever FA Cup. Back-to-back seasons, they were competing for Champions League position. They were in the spot up until the final week.
Listen, it'll buy you a bit of time, you know, what he's done. If you want to talk about Brendan as an individual at Leicester, it will buy him some time with the owners. They'll want to give him the opportunity to turn it around. And, you know, Brendan is a good coach. You know, he's long in the tooth. He knows his way around the Premier League. He is a good coach, as I just mentioned. But there are mitigating circumstances of why I feel his team are in this position. And Scott touched on it before. The owners, maybe not with the investment that they've had because of the damage the pandemic's done, etc., etc. And he hasn't been able to strengthen. He has had money to spend, and I do think he had a decent squad, which is kind of, he's lost a bit of that spine and that backbone as well. So all them are contributing factors to where he is. But I do think he's running out of time. I do think he's running out of time. But then again, you've got to look at it, and we spoke about it before, the position they're in. Who would actually want that job? I mean, they've got a lot of players out of contract at the end of the season.
Me?
Yeah, I know. I'm sure Robbie Fowler would as well.
Yeah.
But I want a Ferrari, JMO. I'm not getting one.
That's a partnership, you and Robbie.
Yeah, that'll be good. But it's kind of like, and there are managers out there. It's just, if they're looking at it, it's like, which one, who would actually want that? You know, Maddison's out of contract at the end of the season. Tielemans as well. There's a few. You know, they've got to build confidence. I mean, you believe there's a squad there or a team there that can get them out of trouble, so...
Well, I actually think it's a job where, with respect to Bournemouth, I can't see them anything other than going down. I think if you look at Leicester, the pure talent they have, they're not a relegation side. Now, again, I've already touched on the fact of the squad that we had at West Ham was just nothing short of incredible, and people were tipping us for top 6. But when things don't go well and it just goes on and you're thinking it's going to come out, and it doesn't come out, and I don't think we won our first home game until January, it's very difficult to then get out of it. I think the finances is really, really big. They're worried about the FFP. They're already a little bit over at the Premier League, but as we've seen, I think with like Everton and maybe a couple of other clubs, they're not so worried about that. It's more the European, the UEFA thing. They've brought people on higher wages, so the wages to turnover is higher than what it should be. So their argument is, look, this is what we've got. From a playing point of view, though, it's really difficult because when you lose Fofana, you talk about Maddison going, you know, you're hearing what Brendan's saying. He's incredibly frustrated. I think he's a really good coach, and I think he can go on and do really well at a very, very good club. I think he's had enough, personally. And I think he's ready to go.
But he wants the money, the payoff. So he can't just resign.
Rumours are... Well, he can resign, but he's not
he
going
won't get
to.
the payoff.
Well, there's a deal to be done, isn't it, if that's it?
Rumours are that it would cost up to £10 million to pay off the remaining 3 years of his contract. I think if they were willing to do that, he would go. And I'm not speaking on his behalf. I know nothing about anything. I'm just talking about my personal point of view.
The other thing as well is that you look at that result today, 6-2 against Tottenham, where they're at. Their owners are probably looking at that thinking, listen, that's not a great result. That's a bit of a beating. There's an element of truth in what Brendan was saying. I think they were in the game, because I actually said to you, didn't I, around that point?
Yes.
You know, he said 73 minutes. I'm more at 65, where I think Tottenham needed that third goal. Or the fourth goal. Well, the fourth goal. When he went 3-2, I thought they need another goal here just to be safe. Anyway, they got it. Son got his hat-trick. But I think when you're in a relegation battle, owners will look at it and think, what is it, Forest next?
Well, that's the thing. It's Forest and then Bournemouth.
Now, he loses them 2 games. And I think, I mean, the next 2 weeks is the international break. I think if he loses them 2 games, that's when the owners think and go, we need a change.
My thing here is that if the manager's complaining in whatever level that he hasn't been funded to buy better players, then he's already selling himself as a manager who will buy his way out of trouble. And if
Has he said that?
This is...
Oh, he's definitely
you can read between the lines.
He's definitely wanted money to buy players.
He was saying that effectively in
but he's not done a Scott Parker, has he?
No, forget, he hasn't said it just now. But the point is...
No, he was good there.
Everything's sort of saying that he wants more money to buy, or wanted... past tense money to bring in new players. They mentioned in commentary that he got a £3 million net, which isn't bad. Well, Man City made a profit. You know, who's done the best business there? Whatever.
And Oh, you're dealing in different stores aren't you?
Yeah, but
it's like...
Yeah, but my point is,
we're in Harrods and Woolworths at the minute. That's where we're at.
You're talking about future jobs, and everything at the moment isn't helping his future higher ability. And if you're a manager who has to spend money in order to get success, then you become a liability because you're going to come at an extra cost. And I think the best example I can give is Jurgen Klopp, who took Brendan Rodgers' job. Jurgen took hold of a Liverpool side that had bad recruitment, bad spending, didn't bring anyone in the first transfer window, and then transformed into a side who go on to become European champions, league champions, whatever. Because if you've got the right coach and coaches around you, the squad that you've got will improve.
Yeah.
And one thing I'm seeing demonstrated at the moment is that somewhere within that camp, whether it's a manager or the other coaches, they're not able to get a group of talented players, as Scott said, performing at level to compete in the Premier League.
They couldn't even buy Lookman for, what was it, 14 million? They lost him for in the end.
But this is my point.
I get what you're saying about the owners, and they're completely in their rights. You know, it's like, what's happened to them?
Sorry, I'm very blunt now. Do your job and get my players to play better football, and then I'll be more interested in investing in you.
You're absolutely right, Jamie. You're absolutely right. What I would say is when Brendan, and again, I don't even think it's a choice from the owners, or they could, but they'd be going so far over FFP. You know, I spoke to someone who's very much not at the club, but somebody who knows sort of what's going on from the financial point of view. And actually, as I've mentioned a couple of times now, the wages to turnover, it's something that we don't quite understand as ex-players. But it's not just about the owners. As much as they've been hit in the pandemic, they don't want to spend. It's that in terms of FFP, they'll be going over that. Now, I understand completely Brendan's frustrations of saying, look, clubs are coming for our best players. We don't seem to be able to bring anyone in either. You know, we're getting closer to the transfer window. I've got to ramp it up now to my owners to say, we've really got to do it, we've really got to do it. It hasn't happened, and now suddenly they're there. And it's very difficult to then, it's not a switch or, you know, anything that you can just flick on and suddenly, okay, the window's gone, let's all, you know, dig in and the talented players. It doesn't happen like that. Suddenly you're down there and it takes a long time to get back. And we don't know what's going on behind the scenes in the training ground on a day-to-day basis. I don't know whether Brendan is really upbeat with the lads. And
I don't think he's lost the dressing room.
I don't know.
I don't think he has.
OK. I genuinely don't know. But what I see from a public point of view is a very disillusioned manager in the job where I think he's in his 4th year. I don't think he's been in 4 years before at the same club.
No, he usually has a window.
And that's not to say he can't, but I think this summer has disillusioned him so much, and I think he's a really good coach, that his negativity towards what's happening and what isn't happening has turned the players into... And also he's got to take responsibility in terms of... And Macca was right when I sort of said, you know, that the last 3 goals, they were so open, well, they're chasing the game. And he's absolutely spot on. They were chasing the game, trying to get back into it. But it's not just the last 20 minutes of a game that they look so open. It's more than that so far this season, with the style of play, the fullbacks trying to be a little bit inverted and pushing on. Sometimes,
yeah, they're open, aren't they?
Absolutely, they're open. So he has to take responsibility. I think he's a great coach. I genuinely mean that, and I think he can go on and do a great job elsewhere. I just think that we're coming towards the end of the Brendan Rodgers and Leicester relationship. OK,
well, even they win their next game against Forest, it puts them level on points with them. So they're in a world of hurt right now.